Now, who is, see, we have to look at, right? Let's not run a four. Let's stop right here at the drafting of the instrument. Who is Congress? Congress is the ones that are appointed by the lords and the crown to operate as the legislative branch, because in order to control the people, you got to give the vested power, the inherent power to the Congress, the lawmakers. And they started off as esquires, and they're going to always be in control of the esquires. It's going to be in control of the lords. It's going to be in control of the crown, the privy council, the pope, and the knights. They're always going to be in control of them. This is why I say vested power. That's inherent. That means the Congress inherit the power that the lords had under the colony charters.
All right. Number two, Parliament, delegated authority in the Constitution as trustee. You did address that.
Yes.
All right. Three, judiciary, bankers who discharge and settle disputes, criminal and civil. All right. Go into
yes.
that.
Now let's go back to under the old colony charters. The lords and the freehold, the lords and the patnams, letters of patent, was the freeholders. They have what you call commissions. They were the ones that sat there in judgment on behalf of the lords, or the lords would sit in judgment to handle any dispute dealing with, in equity, you're dealing with criminal and civil. They're both the same. One is a damaged party, you be physically damaged, mentally, or raped, all these things. That still fall under equity, because you still merchandise. You still consider goods, merchandise, and collateral. So it's civil, but they call it criminal. They was able to adjust the matter the way they want. They was the trustees. That the Congress have the inherent power to manage the business of the lords and freeholders and the crown and the privy council. They manage. Congress manage. Congress was granted an invested inherent right. What are they inherited? The same authority that the lords had under the old colonies. The lords wrote the legislator or hire commissions to write in the legislative body to write as they see fit. So the vested power went to Congress. Congress inherit what the settlers wanted them to do as trustees, to manage their money, the crown affairs and the lords affairs. So it's very important you understand what's going on here. Congress is in the Constitution, in order to say the vested power. And like Professor Abdullah broke it down, that's dealing with inherit. How do you inherit something? It got to be handed down to you, like handed down as something that if you my descent, my son or daughter. So United States Congress have the inherent power to make the laws and act as the trustees on behalf of the crown and the lords. So they are the trustees. That's the parliament. That's who make the laws.
Number four, the citizens, beneficiaries.
Now the citizens are the beneficiaries to this part. They special needy. They got a mental handicap condition of consciousness, meaning that anyone that's been granted something by the lords or the crown, they have a subject status. Number one, they're not in their own land, so that's an immigration status. They're planners. They work in the industry under servitude. So they talk about us and try to say, "Oh, we servitude." Oh, no, they are too. They are too. Their whole life, they don't have a national origin. They can't claim a native origin here in Morocco. They're not. This is not their native land. So they are the beneficiaries, but at the same time, they are sureties of the trust. Remember the trust. There's a trust. Now let me go deeper than this. The lords and their descendants and kinsmanship successors, the letters of patent, letters of grant, a patent, and freeholders, they are the first beneficiaries to the trust of the charter colony. Please hear me out. The planners are the beneficiary of the new social trust under the Jubilee. It's two different status here. One has a freehold status as a beneficiary. That's inherent. That can be handed down. The other one is granted the right as a beneficiary under an instrument drafted by the esquires. That's the difference. When something is inherent and something is granted, that means someone you being donated, a donor. You don't have anything, you don't own anything. When you got a beneficiary right through a descent, kinsmanship, or heirship, that's a different beneficiary status under a certain trust. Go ahead, Abdullah.
All right.
You know,
Yes, Tamara.
Before you go further, I want the listening audience and the viewing audience to be able to truly understand that you just broke down the elements of a trust. And through the variation understanding of the trust, there's a element to it. You have the settler, and there's another. The settler could also be called the creator, or the grantor, or the donor. And then you have the second part you have is the trustee to the trust. And the trustee to the trust you just identified here is the delegated authority under the parliament. It's the trustee. The parliament is the trustee to the trust of the Constitution of the United States. Then you have the third element, which is the beneficiaries of the trust that was set up. Now let's think of what goes into that trust. Now, in order to make this trust work, you have to have some type of property that goes into a trust, which is called a corpus, a res, a estate. Could you go into that a little bit? Because that's how the trust operates. It operates through what you place in the trust.
Okay, now I'm glad you asked that question, and we're going to clarify this. You notice that any trust, any old trust done by Moors, they want you will never see it. So I have to use the Rothschilds, because the Rothschilds use the pattern of descent, kinsmanship, and heirship in the trust. Now, in the trust is the exchanger or the settler, the trustees, and the beneficiary and the protector. Trusts anciently are made through blood pedigree. You would go all the way back. Let's say Abdullah can trace his consanguinity back to the ancient kings, the ancient this, the ancient this. He will go up to the pedigree, the blood pedigree consanguinity, and in the consanguinity there will be a survey. See, this the crown got this from. See, they got this from the Moors. In order, when you have a trust, you have to have a survey. The survey is of minerals, marine land, fishing, agriculture, land. You have to like you got assets. You got gold, silver, rubies, diamonds. That's assets. They're commodities. Animals, commodities. Lot, marine, fish, commodity. They will put that description in a survey in the trust. The survey means it's given a longitude and latitude, and it's also talking about the value of that, what it is, and how much it's worth. That's why you trusts have survey. You put the property, the corp, the real substance, the merchandise. You describe everything, the assets, the merchandise, the collateral, commodity, everything in the trust. So that's a survey in the trust. Then that trust gets sealed and signed. The trust is for the protection of the executor, the exchanger, the trustee, and the beneficiaries, or the descent of the tribe, the clans. They are the descent of the people of the land, and that they can inherit the resources and the education, the substance. When they can fish, they can hunt, they can raise animals, they can grow crops, they can mine the ground, they can snatch out of the ground valuables and use them as merchandise, goods. So that is the beneficiary. To see the benefits that the exchanger, that the trustee manager. Now, the protector is the tribe, a group of tribes, of houses that will be considered as the protector of the trust. So this is how a trust is made up. Now you notice that the treaty between Great Britain and the United States have a survey of land, longitude and latitude of land, and it told them that they was allowed to fish. See, listen to me. They're being told. Remember fish? We talk about fish. They were told about crops, growing, boundaries. So that's what the trust talks about. The substance, the real substance, commodities, and merchandise and goods that's in a political domicile dominion boundary that the people, the tribe, that first the ruling power, the crowns, or the ruling government power, consider of value, and that every house have a right to hand down for their offsprings, what they call descent, kinsmanship, and heir. This is why the crown and the privacy council have the dukes, the earls, the counts, the barons, the monarchs. They got the knights. They got all is the legend is a rank. Sir,
Yeah.
saint.
Right.
Now the Catholic Church use the word bishop, abbot, priest, deacon, clergy, right? Or they use another word, cardinal. Also saint. So you see that what's going on ecclesiastical, private, public.
All right. So we have trust structure of the United States Constitution. Freeholders grant the colony charters from the English crown. Just review that because
Yes.
we did talk about that, but since we on this, all right, let's go back down the line. Go ahead. Freeholders grant.
Freeholders receive the letters of patent that normally comes from either the lords or it comes from the Crown and Privacy Council. They are the freeholders. They receive the letter, and they are the freeholders, and their children are the successors. That's where the United States have a few disputes when land is taken that's owned by the freeholders. What the United States Supreme Court do is look back, and also the World Court do the same thing. The Hague and the international arbitrators, they look back at their own estimates. See, this is what we have to learn. In order to adjudicate now, to make a decision, final now, solid, sound, you have to go back and grab real substance. Nobody goes a fishing net in the water and pulling rocks and take them home and eat them. They grab fish. I'm just showing you, this is why when someone making a decision, no one goes look at something that just been around for 50 years. How are you going to evaluate language that's been changed 100 times, definitions and meanings? How are you going to evaluate a sovereign old nation against a modern state on a modern instrument? That's ludicrous. That's sovereignty suicide. You want to add to that?
No. Continue.
Okay, let's go to the next one. We went to this one. We practically went over the colony charters.
All right.
From the
We the people, settlers, freeholders, received letters of patent from the English crown. We
yes,
went over that.
Yes.
Colonies, industries of the English crown and privacy council. Esquires, manage affairs of the freeholders and statutory bar for we the people.
Yes. Now that we can go on just a little bit.
A little more.
The bar was paid to draft the Constitution and the ordinance. They are the ones under British common law, and for Spain, Portuguese. They are the ones modernly to the 16th century was drafted. But before then, they was called juris consultants that was used. The esquires, you cannot deny, is the trustees of the Constitution because the esquires signed the Constitution of the United States. John Adams, Esquire. Thomas Jefferson, Esquire. J. Esquire. All these officers that operate as ministers, attorney generals, governors, and Alexander Hamilton, these men are esquires. So you cannot make a claim that I don't want to deal with an esquire, but they're your founding fathers. I'm telling the truth. They're your founding fathers. You have found your founding fathers, the esquire. You make all the fuss. I'm not going to address the Albion. I'm going to address the Moors that's unconscious and the Moors that seem to say they're conscious. You're going to make a claim to a protection as a protector and sovereignty based on a document that's drafted by a subject of the crown.
Wow.
You're unconscious. That's why they call you a deceased estate, because you dead consciously.
Say that again, please. Say that one more again.
You're going to base your sovereignty and your protector, your political protection of your cultural identity on a subject of the crown. And you telling me when that happens and you make a statement that the Constitution is your own to protect you, you are the dead estate. Now, you're not dead physically. You're dead consciously because you don't know who you are. If you was a native Moor, you wouldn't make. Now, I'm going to show you what I mean. Show me a Frenchman, a Englishman, a German, a Russian, a Chinese that make a claim that they're native more from Morocco living in their own land. Where's that at? There ain't nothing. It's not even in their constitution. They derive the right as a people, an inherent right to write their political identity and their cultural, their political status and their cultural identity, who they connected with. And you telling me that you're going to turn around and look to another people whose family came in off of boats, people as immigrants and subjects, wrote an instrument granting them certain rights to vote, and you going to say that protect you? You dead consciously. You're dead. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, you already addressed Esquire signers of the United States Constitution became the following head of states, legislators, judges, assistant to the people, the Sixth Amendment right to counsel.
Let me address that. I want them running with that.
Please,
now,
go ahead.
When the Congress, when they amend the Constitution, the people that the common planners didn't amend it. It was the Esquires that amended, the representatives in Congress who had a vested power, heavy right. So they amended it and gave the people the same right that they had in the British common law, the right to counsel. Now, let's look at the British common law and the colony territory. Who represent the people, who represent the lords, and who represented the crown? The Esquire. He's the Sixth Amendment counsel. You have found your Esquire, your counsel, Esquire.
All right. Next page. All right. So addressing misconceptions about the English colonies. I think we've addressed some of these. One, all the English British colonies, royal charters, royal land grants, and royal letter patents have been dissolved to the British due to the British losing the Revolutionary War.
Let me answer that now.
All right.
That's not true. And this I'm explain why. Anytime the United States Supreme Court, anytime the International Court of Arbitration, anytime the World Court, The Hague, anytime international conventions bring up as a chain of proof facts that they read from these instruments to make prior modern decisions of sovereignty and disputes over land, territory, and domain of jurisdiction.
Yes.
Anytime it is a well-settled principle that an international arbitrator jurist, a society of jurists that's trained, and also in The Hague, when a dispute happened with two modern states, like in the United States Constitution, if diversity of citizen happened, the United States Supreme Court had what? The federal courts have jurisdiction. Well, when an international dispute happened with treaties between two nations that signed a treaty 500 years ago, well, guess what? They're not going to come in with an act that just happened 100 years ago. They have to go to the instrument. Now, earlier, Tamara read a question of one of our guest hosts, one of our audience. The Kingdom of Morocco proves that when one become conscious of they have a right to a political status based on a pre-exempt right of ancient people that possessed the land before occupiers took it over, like the Kingdom of Morocco. To say that the sovereignty of Morocco did not exist, then how did a kingdom, a state, under the doctrine of Mohammedanism, went to the embassies and claimed a pre-existent sovereignty as the Kingdom of Morocco under Mohammedanism that goes back to the 7th century, 700. Now, come on, now listen to what's going on. Then you say that, not the jurists, not the document, not the treaties. You say that Morocco's sovereignty is dead. You know why? Because you were dead consciously. That's why.
All right. Number two, the 13 new forms of government, the 13 state governments derive their names, their existence, and their constitutions from totally different sources from that under which the old English British colonies existed.
Okay, now we have to look at this. Now let's be honest. In ancient time, there was really no constitutions. There was trusts. Yes, trust. That's an elementary strong principle.
Okay.
The seer, a woman or a man, foresee, and was endowed with revelation, mean knowledge that was not ever spoken by the tribes or the people occupying the land. Then from that came what you call ordinance, statutes of the seer. And that governed the people as the trust, the ecclesiastical trust, because it preserved the rights to kinship, heirship, descent, as long as they stayed in line with what the seer, meaning the eagle, foresee, future. He protects futures. The people are the futures. They're the salt of the earth. Then you got other governments that did not operate on that principle. They operate on their house principle of blood kinsmanship. That means the descent handed down to the house, to the clans and tribes. They came into what you call a trust, and that was their social trust. That was the first form of constitutions. See, modern constitutions now, when they got the width to strip the people of their rights, they would take someone that's wise among the people that they train and indoctrinate and castrate away from the defection of their people. That means under years of servitude, nations would take mothers, women, and they would snatch the women first. This is a war strategy. And what the nation do, they'll snatch the women and they take them in as concubines. They'll have the babies in their land. They'll send them to their colleges. The Moors done this, school them, then they'll send them back to their land. They have a right now to the land, their state, because they come from the mother. But they've been doctrinized, so they're ruled for the ruling government to keep the people in servitude to what? Language, drafting, instruments, agreements. This is the form of stripping people of their nationality, is through language, to agreements. And this is what we must understand what's going on here. So trusts are ancient. This is why the Rothschilds preserved his blood pedigree and wealth in a trust. It's called a Pew Declaration Trust.
All right. Number 3, the 13 English colonies, British colonies, became the 13 states due to the British losing the Revolution War. I addressed that already.
Yes.
All right. Thought-provoking questions for today's information. 1. Why has the definitive peace treaty between Great Britain and the United States of 1783, also known as the Treaty of Paris of 1783, been given very little attention in the general public? All right. 2. Why has the Treaty of Paris of 1783 been given the recognition and great attention in the United States Supreme Court from 1796 to the present?
Because it's not taught in the public schools. That's your answer. It's not taught in grade school going up to maturity. That way now it's lost because can't be inherited, because your inherit is in education. That's how you preserve the wealth in the land, through education. Philosophy is not being taught in the public.
It's a limited, what is taught about the Treaty of Paris 1783 in the textbooks. It's very limited. That, during the Revolutionary War period, in the textbooks, oh yeah, they end the war, the Treaty of Peace of Paris ended the war. That's pretty much, it doesn't go into any cases. People that don't even have that on their mind today, they don't see that as any ruling instrument at all. Absolutely.
That's right.
So that's a good answer there. All right, now, checkmate. The Crown sits as the head authority over the United States.
Yes.
Privacy Council operates as the legislative body under the monarchy. The Crown, with the consent of the Privacy Council, issues decrees and orders governing all the subjects and citizens of his or her Commonwealth's colony states within his or her political dominions.
Yes.
All right, any questions answered? Questions? All right. So, as I said at the onset of the presentation, this is a 3-part presentation. So we'll be back next month with the second second Friday of February with part 2, Checkmate, the Crown's own the United States Checkmate. All right, and also tune in part 2, Checkmate, the formation of the United States Fiduciary Guardianship of the British Crown. All right, so we have, once again, we have our upcoming course on January 27th, Thursday, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hooked on Grammar 301, yours truly as the instructor of the course. The class will deal with clause, our class on phrases, that's participles, gerunds, and infinitives. And it's a 12-week course. And I said the class is recorded. So if you can't make it on a Thursday, because the class is recorded, you can take it anyway and then watch it the next day or anytime you have time during the course of the week. All right, tune in. Part 2, Checkmate, state formation of the United States Fiduciary Guardianship of the British Crown. That is the second Friday of February. That's part 2. All right, to donate, go to the Cash App, Tamara D. Ill. All right, thank you, everyone. As I said before, the Academy of Providence, is the benefactor of the Moroccan Post. All right, once again, if you want to donate, the Cash App, Tamara D. Ill. Thank you, everyone. I think this was a great ride today.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Happy Ratification Day.
That's right. That's right. Peace. So, Islam.